And we're back. Episode 3 of Out of the Groove Power Hour, presented by Circle B Diecast. My name is Eric Estepp. I am joined, as always, by NASCAR Xfinity Series driver Brennan Poole. Brennan, you're looking mighty fine today. Very dapper, very
Thanks,
nice.
Sir. Thank you. I'm feeling good too. It's a great, wonderful day in North Carolina. So I'm happy. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to chat racing with you. We got a freaking amazing guest today.
Yeah,
this is gonna be crazy. This episode's gonna be crazy, man.
Yeah, Mark Martin, NASCAR Hall of Famer, will be joining us in about 10 or 15 minutes or so. But first, we have to tell you about Circle B Diecast. You can use code OOTG, that's short for Out of the Groove, OOTG, for free shipping on orders over $30. We really appreciate Utiga, yes. We appreciate Circle B Diecast supporting the show, sponsoring the show. Brennan, I'm in a good mood this week. The Super Mario Bros. Movie comes out, I think Wednesday or Thursday night. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to go opening night, but I grew up more of a Sonic the Hedgehog fan. I'll be honest, that was a 90s game. I was a 90s kid, but Mario still holds a deep place in my childhood. Me and my best friends would play Mario Kart, Super Mario Bros., whether it was the GameCube, the Wii, the Wii U, the Switch. We're still hanging out every few weeks. We'll hang out at someone's place and play Mario Kart. So I don't know. I'm hyped about the Mario movie. Are you excited about the Mario movie?
I mean, I'm not excited about it, but I mean, Chris Pratt as Mario, I think is a question mark for me. So I'm curious to see how that sounds, because when, the trailers I see, it's not like, oh, it's me and Mario. It's like, hey, I'm Mario. So I don't know how that's going to pan. I don't know how that's going to be on in the movie. So I am curious to see what that is. But I think I'm going to I want to see this Dungeons and Dragons movie that just came out. I'm literally, after we get off, I'm going to try to go and see that movie this evening, possibly do a little date night with Lindsay and go to the movies. I did just see 65, the Adam Driver, dinosaur sci-fi, what happened if humans landed on Earth back when the dinosaurs were here. Be honest with you, I mean, I like sci-fi stuff, and it just didn't hit home for me.
Yeah, I've been wanting to see that because I love sci-fi stuff. Adam Driver's cool, and the concept. Adam Driver, dude. Yeah, the concept of a human going. I don't know if he's not going back in time or something. I don't know how it works.
They crash land on Earth. He's like a shipping deal, and there's some foreshadowing. I don't want to ruin it for those that do want to see it. I think you should see it. I'm just saying, Adam Driver, the concept, everything. I was like, this movie's going to be off the chain, an amazing film. And then it was just kind of I was like, okay, it is what it is. I also saw Cocaine Bear. I don't know. Did I tell you that? I saw Cocaine Bear.
I didn't go to
over the West Coast trip. That was funny. It had some good laughs. Okay. If it's on TV, I will stop and watch it. That's all I have to say about that.
Okay. Was it funny, good, bad, or was it,
Yeah.
Was it actually good? Was it actually funny?
It was actually funny. I laughed out loud multiple times. But sweet. It's kind of kids doing drugs. I think is that funny to people? I guess I don't know.
It's more funny when bears do drugs and go on a rampage.
Kids, it also happens to kids in the movie. Not throw anything away on accident, and that I laughed during it. So I don't know if that makes me a bad. It's a comedy film, guys. Don't hold it against me. I
like it. Comedy horror. Did that Winnie the Pooh horror movie ever come out? Is that out yet? I
think it came out, but I didn't see it.
That looked like it was just funny, maybe bad, just not good. I love the idea of all these.
Can you make Winnie the Pooh scary though? Can you? I don't know if you can.
The heffalumps and woozles are kind of creepy.
If Winnie the Pooh kicked the door in and came in, he was all dark and honest, I'd be like, "You're Winnie the Pooh, man."
Get out of my face.
Get out of here.
Yeah, I feel like it's a dark time at the theater right now. I'm hoping the Super Mario movie is good.
Bring some light to it. I can tell you one thing. My nephew is going to be there immediately. He's he was at Richmond this past weekend, and they were already talking about it. They were planning their night out. He's got friends going. They're all going to see the Mario movie. I'm like, man, I feel like maybe I'm going to have to go check it out too, just so I don't feel like I'm left out.
I'm looking forward to Chris Pratt's more gritty, grounded take on
Mario
plumber character. Yeah,
I guess
method acting for this role. I like I don't know. There's a lot of great. Jack Black is Bowser. I can't wait to see that as well. I've been really enjoying watching the media tour for this movie. Jack Black is an absolute loose cannon.
He's funny.
He's hilarious. He's great.
He's great.
I always forget that he has a YouTube channel. I don't know if he still updates it regularly, but he got big on YouTube a few years back. He's like a YouTuber now.
And that I want to see. for
That's like
sure.
he's just crossing everything off the bucket list. He's Jack Black. He can do what he wants. No shame. Well, you mentioned Richmond. We can start to segue to Richmond. Before we talk about Richmond, though, I do want to show off our favorite diecast. This show is
Oh
sponsored by
yeah.
Circle B Diecast. And because
Mm.
Mark Martin is our very special guest, I pulled a very nice car out of the back. I need to put this one out on display. It's an absolute disservice that I have this car sitting in my closet more times than not.
Don't say that. Mark's gonna come back and watch this and know you had
Mark,
him in the closet, man.
now Mark has come out of the closet, and we've got his 1998 All-Star win paint scheme. This is to me one of the great paint schemes. Mark Martin had a lot of great paint schemes, especially in his Roush days. I have an old vintage T-shirt from his, I think, 2000 Valvoline scheme, but there were some great Valvoline schemes back in the day. This one's similar era, different sponsor, different color scheme, but I love it. Black and yellow, a little bit of red and orange. It even has the red wheels here as well
Yeah.
to tie it
That's
all
a good
together.
looking race car.
Yeah, one of my favorites for sure. And he won the All-Star race. His first All-Star win was in this paint scheme back in 1998. I was about 6 months old, probably, because when was it? Like May 1998? My birthday's
Yeah,
November of 97.
I was 7, and I think
7 months or 7?
no,
7
7 years. 7 years. I'm
oh,
old, man. I'm
oh.
old. I'm older. I'm in this generation in our community. I'm the old guy. I've come. That's what it's come down to now.
I don't think so. I don't. I
You're
think.
pulling out die casts that we were 6 months old, and I'm like, yeah, I probably
Yeah,
watched that race.
yeah. I've seen the replays,
Yeah, you've seen the replays.
the
Okay, I
archive
guess
footage.
I guess it's my turn. We got Talladega coming up in a few weeks. I
Yes.
think
Oh yeah.
I will have raced Talladega before our next episode comes out. So let's just go ahead and get this one in.
Oh, he's reaching.
Oh,
Ooh,
this
I thought
is.
you were reaching for the Darrell Waltrip for a second there.
You thought I
Oh,
was. I thought I was going to do it too, but I have to do it. This is Dale Jr. Talladega race version 1. You can see the donut on the door,
oh
okay, right there.
my.
And if you notice the front bumper and everything, I think there was some tape on this, if I'm not mistaken. There is on how they tape the nose, actually. It's like the race version. He's got some like fender damage too. Look at this. This eight's all messed up on the glare. See it? All
Oh
the
my.
donuts down the side
That's a
when
beauty.
he won the race. So yeah, this is awesome. It's got like the rubber marks and stuff all across the hood. It's kind of hard to tell, but I promise you guys, it is there. The glare is not doing me justice. But this car I always thought was so cool. Like I loved raced version cars. Like as a kid,
Yeah.
it's always cool to have it. And of course, this one won. And I think it was a big moment for Dale Jr. Jr. If you're listening to this show, which hopefully you are,
Oh, he's
have
he's
me
an
on.
avid fan.
Have me on your show, and I'll bring this. You probably have multiple of these, but you could at least sign it for me, please, sir. But yeah, this car is, dude, it's just a cool car. I mean,
That's a great
Talladega
car.
raced version win. I don't even have very many race version ones, and this is one of them. I'll be pulling out the other ones as the year goes on, but this is one of my favorite cars.
That's a great one. Dang, this was a strong week for our diecast segment. And if you're listening to this or watching this and you're looking to strengthen your diecast collection, head to circlebdiecast.com. Again, you can use promo code OOTG for free shipping on any order over $30. Before we bring Mark Martin in here, because I am very much looking forward to talking to Mark, NASCAR Hall of Famer, a legend, one of my idols growing up. We got to talk a little bit about Richmond because Brennan, you here were celebrating a milestone, 100th.
I did.
100th Xfinity start. Congrats. Good job.
Thanks.
You made it.
Clap track.
Yes.
Added in for me. Yeah, that was really cool. A lot of my guys and family and people came to the race and were wearing my commemorative 100th start shirt. If you guys want to get it, check it out. It's on the Daily Downforce in my merch area, or you can click the link in my Instagram. If you're not following me, please follow me, guys. Come on, help me out. But yeah, so we that was really, really cool to get to 100 starts. I think there was at one point in my career I didn't even think I was going to get to 100 starts after some of the stuff happened in my career, that many of you know. But yeah, so just super cool. I think little 5-year-old Brennan dreaming of NASCAR days and being older and to get there. If you were to tell him he was going to make 100 NASCAR Xfinity Series starts, I think he would be pretty stoked on that. So really cool milestone. Cool to get to 100. And here's to getting to 200 total NASCAR starts. I'm so close.
Oh, yeah.
Depending on how many truck races I get to run this year or whatnot have you, I'm gonna be really close. I'm gonna be close to like 180, 190 ish, like close on the start. So I'm getting close. I would really like to get to 200 starts. I think that would be also like the next cool milestone, 200 total NASCAR starts. That'd be pretty neat.
You've made 100 more Xfinity starts than me. Well, you know, someone who made their first Xfinity start in the past couple weeks since our last episode was also our most recent guest who won the truck race at Texas, Carson
Yeah.
Hocevar. I
Hmm.
totally forgot about this. We didn't talk about this before the show, but yeah,
Yeah.
talk about some Power Hour podcast luck. Carson, no
He
longer
won.
second. He's
Dude,
first.
he's first. How about
Congrats.
that? I did get to talk to Carson at Coda after our show because I had went right there after we recorded with him, and yeah, we were like chatting on pit road and just cutting up with one another, and that was fun. Of course, we had a little bit of a relationship before we shot our first episode, regardless, but
That's
still
cool.
awesome. Shout out to Carson winning the race, and getting it done. Shout out, dude. Hopefully you're listening to this too. If not, I'm going to text you and make sure you listen to it. So,
Yeah, I can't believe I almost forgot about that. That's pretty fun. Mark Martin is our guest this week, and I don't think Mark Martin's going to go win an Xfinity or a truck race anytime too soon, but he's done more than enough winning in his NASCAR career. Truly an honor to have Mark Martin on the third episode of Power Hour. Brennan, what do you say we bring him in? Mark Martin.
let's bring the legend in. Let's bring him in.
Brennan, you and I are now joined by a very special guest. NASCAR Hall of Famer Mark Martin is in the house. Mark Martin is on Power Hour. Mark, thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure, man. I'm glad you guys had me on. It's going to be fun.
It's going to be a blast. The most powerful hour just got even more powerful. You know, Mark, you are our first Hall of Fame guest. I remember, and I don't know if you remember this, but a couple of years ago, you were on another live stream that I do with some friends of mine. And I remember you telling us then that when you first got nominated and voted into the Hall of Fame, you felt a little like kind of weird about it at first. It took some getting used to. I don't know. Now that it's been a few more years, has it finally settled in? You're a NASCAR Hall of Famer. You are one of the greats. Like, what is that? What does it feel like to be a Hall of Famer?
Man, it's hard to describe it, but the reason I felt that way is because the ones that went in before me were my absolute heroes. And the heroes of the sport that today's racing's built on their backs. And just to have gone in, especially as early as I did, it was just absolutely indescribable how it made me feel. But it was certainly it was crown jewel of my career by far.
We're going to bounce around a little bit here, Mark. I don't want to just ask you about your past, but I kind of upfront want to ask you, like, how often do you find yourself reminiscing about your racing career or your history in the sport? Is it often, or do you're more focused on what's next?
I'm focused an awful lot on what's next, but I also am in the middle of an awful lot of activity having to do with my career. My son Matt has, initiated and got started a book that he wanted me to do. I was not interested in doing a book, but I'm really excited about it now. Matt couldn't. He's sort of an author, but he couldn't write this book, so we got Bones Berchier lined up to be the writer of it, but it's in my words. And anyway, long story short, that book, we've been working on this for over a year.
Wow.
And that has dug up an awful lot of past stuff. And so Matt thought that he would start an Instagram page called Mark Martin Archive, because we were, coming up with so much, or he was coming up with so much through his research, helping with the book. So he started this Instagram page and it just went crazy. So everybody was asking for merchandise. So he started all this merchandise and it's just blown him away. And of course, I have to be involved in a whole lot of that. So it's daily. I mean, Matt is really going crazy on the merchandise. Man, he is worked on and releasing first win, like win diecast from
Yeah.
like very first win. That was he's releasing and has 4 up for pre-order now, 4 different ones from the early 90s, none of which were ever done. Win diecast. And so he's got that going. He's doing merchandise, t-shirts, all these incredible designs, all small number, you know. So I don't want to really drag this thing out on that, but to answer your question, it's daily, but it's daily really because of what Matt is doing.
That's interesting. Yeah. So it sounds like you are thinking a lot about the past as you're building this this whole project out. That's exciting. I've seen some of the stuff on Mark Martin archives. The t-shirt designs look incredible. So I encourage everyone to go check those out. Also, I guess since you've been thinking about your career, and I don't want you to spoil everything that's going to be in the book, but I wanted to ask, you know, what do you remember most? Do you remember the losses, the near misses, or do you remember the big wins, that the trophies you've collected?
It's kind of a split. It's probably a third. No, it's probably 20% the big wins. Um, and then it's probably 30%, you know, the bumbles and fumbles and running out of gas and blowing up engines was ridiculous, and a few poor decisions along the way. So I lost a lot of races. I mean, I lost a lot of races. And so, you know, you think about that some, you know, and just different things. It's kind of sprinkled on. You want to ask me what my biggest wins in my career were? You've never heard of them. The Arkansas State Championship in the 6-cylinder division in 1974 at I-30 Speedway in Arkansas. Wow. A big dirt late model race in 76 in Baltimore, Missouri. The National Short Track Championship at Rockford, Illinois in 1977. Dude, we didn't know we could do it. It would be like going to your very first Daytona 500 and winning it. I mean, we didn't have any idea we could win the National Short Track Championship when we went to compete in that against the greatest race car drivers, you know, in the nation, late model race car drivers in the nation at the time. So those are bigger wins than my first NASCAR win was 1989, you know, at Rockingham. By the way, that's the first diecast that Matt got done. And people just think this stuff comes out of the air. How do you think that you can find a approval from Stroh's Light to do this diecast? You have to get approvals from every, you know, Ford, Roush, you know, all these different. But anyway, so I remember, you know, those wins, you know, and then the 2009 win at Phoenix, because I thought I was never going to win again. And that's a feeling, a euphoric feeling that I can't describe to you. Probably the thing I miss most about racing is looking up at that lighted scoreboard and seeing my car number on the top. That's euphoria like I can't describe. They don't make a drug like that.
I know the feeling. I know what you mean. I mean, it kind of leads into a question I did want to ask you, although I think you kind of answered it. I was going to say, do you have a trophy from a race that you won that you've kept that might be your favorite trophy, or something that just the story behind it means so much to you that that maybe it's a story you'd be willing to share about it, or something like that?
So when I was coming up through racing, of course, you know, coming up the ranks, I kind of kept lots of my trophies, most of my trophies. And I got married in 1984, and I had won a lot of races, 3 ASA championships, and I had all these trophies. And we moved 7 times in the first 5 years we were married. And 2 of those early places that we moved to were apartments. And after one or two moves with all this stuff, I didn't have, dude, I threw them all in the, and those would mean more to me than any NASCAR trophy ever would. And I think you'll get this, Brennan, because the reason why is because my handprints were all over those cars. Like I hung the bodies. I did the chassis setups. I did the tires. So those wins to me were more personal to me than a NASCAR win, when all I ever did was climbed in the car and drove it, and all these incredible people did the work on them. So that's kind of a long story to answer your question. I don't have any trophies in my home. I don't really have any specific trophy that is particularly important to me. Everything that I have is in Batesville, Arkansas, at Mark Martin Ford, in a museum there. I've got about a dozen race cars. Pretty proud. I had a great career, worked with some of the greatest people that ever been in motorsports, and I had 3 different $1 million paydays. All 3 of those cars are on display at the museum, along with my first win car, and many others. The 2002 the All-Star win car from 2005 is there. 2002 Coke 600 car is there. So it's a lot of cool stuff there, but I don't ever go there. I don't really ever see it. It's kind of in.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, yeah, I've heard you say recently, or you said it repeatedly, I think in recent years, that you're done racing cars. If the SRX calls, you're not racing. That's not what you do anymore. And so I was curious, like, when did that switch flip for sure? When did you finally decide that, it's been a great run, done a lot of fun things, but that part of my life is in the past? When did that switch flip, if you know?
Late that night at Homestead in 2013, after I stepped out of the 14 car for the final time, the switch went off. I have no interest in spinning my tires. Nothing. It's just over. It was 40 years. I was pretty damn good at what I did, and I wouldn't be any good at it now. Why in the hell would I be interested in doing any of that? It's gone. That was 40 years, a chapter, and now I'm moving on to other things in life. And it was a good time. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have the career that I had, but for me, that's closed.
When would you say was the most fun you had during your racing career? Because I imagine it's a lot of business, it's a lot of scrutinizing details. So when would you say you were just, I don't know, enjoying it the most?
I started having a lot of fun in 2007. As soon as I quit racing full time, chasing that championship pretty much ruined my life for almost a decade, maybe more than a decade, but at least a decade. It took all the joy out of it. And once I quit chasing championships and got in that '01 car, and knew that I was leading the points when I stepped out of the car. I did not care. I was just racing because I loved it, and because I loved working with the great people and all that stuff. So I had a blast in '07 and '08. But then in 2009, I did not race for points, but I did finally, after turning Rick Hendrick down twice, I finally took him up on one full-time season because I wanted to win. I wanted to experience the euphoria of winning one more time. And of course, we won 2 out of the first, 6 or 8 races. And so I signed up for 2 more years right then. I was like, I'm digging this, I'm fine running. So, I had a blast while I raced for Rick. And so it was really, really fun all the way from 07 on till I finished up in 2013. Had an incredible time driving for MWR, Michael Waltrip, and working with Rodney Childers and some of the greatest people in the sport. Michael had such an amazing organization in 2012 and 2013. Very, very underrated and went, somewhat unnoticed, but it was an incredible organization.
I want to pivot a little to more present day stuff. First off, Mark, I know you're very busy, it sounds like, with the book and the Mark Martin archive. So how much NASCAR racing today do you find yourself watching? How often are you at the racetrack, watching on TV?
I have no interest in going to the racetrack. I go to a couple, maybe a year. But, I did that. And people don't understand it. It's no fun for me to go to the racetrack because as soon as they start those engines, I'm like lost. I mean, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? It's like, I love watching it on TV. I'll go to a race once in a while, if there's some activities that, that I should be a part of or could be a part of. But for the most part, I watch it. If I can't watch it live, I tape it. If I can't, I'll follow it on Twitter, which is an incredible resource for, for anything like that. But, you can know an awful lot about the race just following your Twitter feed as the race is going on if you can't see it or listen to it. I'm a huge race fan. It's not just NASCAR, top 3 divisions. I'm a huge late model dirt fan, big fan of Davenport's. Really excited to see Davenport race the truck and cup car at Bristol.
Yeah.
It's a really neat opportunity for him. So, I love racing. I follow it all the time. I hate it in, December, when there's nothing going on. I love it when January goes around and they start, those late model dirt guys start racing about every night. And it's so fantastic now. You can follow this stuff on, you can watch it on the internet. And it's just like having another television channel. I mean, it's high definition. It's fabulous. So, I'm subscribed to, all Flow Racing and the Dirt Vision and XR Racer XR. They do a fabulous job and are really promoting some really cool dirt track racing as well. So,
yeah,
I wanted to ask you, Mark, because I'm coming up on a birthday. I'm about to turn 32. So by the time this comes out, I might actually be 32. But I wanted to see, what would you tell yourself as a 30-year-old race car driver, knowing everything that you know now? What would you tell him? Because for me, I feel like I'm very much, in the middle part of my career. I've been racing in the top 3 series now for the last 7 years. And, you talked a little bit about all those guys going to the Hall of Fame before you, how you looked up to those guys. Those were the guys. But for us, for this generation, you're one of those guys for us. So for me, I think it'd be really cool to hear what you would have to say to your 30-year-old self, for me being a 30-year-old race car driver right now.
Well, for me, I wish I would have soaked it in a little bit, soaked it up a little bit, enjoyed it, the moment just a little bit. I was so hyper focused on making it happen and going faster, and doing better and I was very hyper focused on the car, not just driving. In fact, I wish I would have focused a little bit on driving skill, because I didn't. I worked on physical fitness and cars. Those were the two things I did. But I would highly recommend you just try to soak it in, because it doesn't last forever. And when I was racing, I didn't think about it not lasting forever. All I could think about was trying to win this race. And I mean, if I ran a Busch, which is Xfinity race, the minute I got the checkered flag, I no longer even thought about that race. I was immediately hyper focused on how are we going to get the Cup car to handle this good. Do we need to raise the track bar? Do we need to move this? Do we need to make this spring change? I went directly, and I hurried right through, the victory lane stuff, hurried right through the press stuff so that I could get to my Cup car. And that's just kind of an example of how I operated. I look back on it now, and I think I could have probably been just as successful if I would have soaked it in just a little bit.
Good. I mean, yeah, I understand that. I'm trying to soak it up as much as I can, because I've heard that before, and I'm trying. But I also get, from your perspective, I mean, when that race is over, you're thinking about the next one, and it's just like, and some of that, uh, equates to a lot of your success, I believe, but also understanding too, in enjoying it and knowing it doesn't last. I mean, it's not going to last for forever, and trying to soak in those moments. I think I'm doing a better job of that now than I was my first, 3 or 4 years in the sport. I mean, I can kind of understand you talking about just like the challenges and chasing that championship and chasing after those wins. And for me in my career, I had a difficult part of my career, and I ended up driving back in the truck series in 2019, and I started to have fun again and like falling back in love with the sport and just driving. But I was in there in the shop with my guys, and I was back working on the truck with them, and I just kind of fell back in love with the sport again, and that's kind of what propelled me into where I'm at now today. I'm also driving the 6, Mark, so I'm trying to bring in some of your and everything that you did in the 6. I need some of that good mojo over here myself, so I'm trying to carry that with me this year in the 6. But yeah, I totally understand everything that you said, and I'm going to do my best to soak it in. So I appreciate you saying that.
Well, I would like to add to that. I've seen your struggles. I get that. You haven't seen my struggles. I am a blue collar worker. I'm a working man. I came up through this deal. I shot directly to the top of the sport. I mean, in my third Cup race that I entered at 22 years old with my own little car, and not one person that had ever been, to a NASCAR race before that first race, which we qualified 5th at. But in the third race I entered, I sat on the pole of a Cup race at 22 years old. I mean, I shot right from 3-time ASA national champion to sitting on the pole to running 3rd at Martinsville in my 5th race with my own pit crew from the Midwest who'd never been, NASCAR. No big time crew chief, no nothing. It was all, and it just looked like it was going to be easy, just like everything else had been. And I went broke the next year going full-time NASCAR racing with 5 guys trying to go up against Junior Johnson and Bud Moore and teams like that knew what they were doing. And I didn't have a clue of what I was stepping into to try to race full-time. And I lost everything. Lost my entire career. Had to have an auction, sell off all my equipment, everything I owned, every tool, everything, pay off bills. And I had to go back and start my career all over again with the late model. And it was tough. And that's what makes you better. And I want to share that with you because you may or may not know that story, know my story. But I share that with you as an encouragement that, you know, if you keep your head down and you keep working, there's always a chance that you can get back even beyond anything that you ever dreamed. It happened for me, and it could happen for you.
Thanks, Mark. Thanks a lot for saying that. It means a lot to me. It really does. Thanks for sharing the story. I didn't know that story, but it hits me. It hits home for me in my heart. So thanks very much for sharing that.
I'm sure you don't probably read a lot of books. I certainly don't typically, but I to reading motorsports books on my heroes, and I would highly recommend you reading my book because I think you would find inspiration in it. Most people only know me as a NASCAR winner. Dude, that book ain't about me winning races. It's about how damn hard it was to get there. And, you know, I think it would inspire you.
Okay. Thank you. I will for sure.
I'm not a race car driver, but I'm absolutely going to check it out as well. I'm sure, I'm sure it'll be inspirational. You know, obviously, Mark, you've left a legacy on the sport, and kind of like Brennan said a moment ago, you're, you know, a lot of drivers today would look up to you as one of their heroes, or would cite you as, you know, that's who I wanted to race like. I kind of want to tie this into a more current conversation. I'm sure you've kept up, Mark, but in the last couple of weeks, there's, I don't know, maybe even the last couple of years, there's a debate about over aggressive racing etiquette on track. How much has it changed? Is it good? Is it worse than it's ever been? And, you know, a lot of drivers look at you as someone who, you know, upheld a certain standards, a level of driver code when you raced. And I think some would say that that's been lost. I don't know if you've seen any of the exact quotes that I'm sort of referring to, but how do you feel the racing etiquette in NASCAR today has changed, or has it changed since you were racing?
Oh my God, it's changed.
Okay.
And there's a lot of elements that bring it to where it is today. And, you know, just a whole lot, you know, from growing up as a kid, you know, in the technology age to racing online, to it's just all about you and much less about the sportsmanship. Like what I liked about racing, what I was taught to race, you know, there were people that led me and helped me develop the code. And matter of fact, I conformed to their code because I wanted their approval. The greats like Dick Trickle and Bob Seneker and you know, Tom Refner and some of the greatest of all time. They had a code, and you know, you just, I mean, a lot of times in Wisconsin, I went to Wisconsin in '77, my first year in asphalt racing, because you could race 5 nights a week and twice on Sunday. So you could race, you know, 5, 6, 7 times a week. Well, these guys, you know, and a lot of them were regular shows, paid $400 or $500 to win. So, I mean, they made it right quick. Hey, this is what you do. Your right front tire isn't past my rear tire. You get out. It's my track. You know, if you get your tire past my rear tire, it's your track, and I will not crowd you. And we ain't tangling because after the race, we're going to the tavern. We're not going to pick these damn cars tonight and take them to the racetrack tomorrow. And you learned a sort of sportsmanship where you raced your guts out, but may the best man win. And that's the way that was. That won't work anymore. You know, it's a different generation of people. It's a different generation that we live in. NASCAR rules have also forced this. I mean, sometimes you think Why run 500 miles? Just line them up in inverted points and have 3 green, white checkers.
Careful, you're
I
going to
mean,
give NASCAR an idea there.
it all comes down to that. I mean, there's hardly ever that isn't, the mayhem green, white, checkered. I mean, there's almost never a race that there isn't a caution inside 10 to go. And they're real cautions now. Used to be bogus, but now they're real. The intensity gets up and somebody screws up and runs over somebody else and they got a caution. So it all comes down to that. And so it's all just cutthroat, and it's fun to watch. I mean, I'm thinking about it. It's fun to watch. I'd be seriously thinking about another career if I was a driver, in this era, because I don't like it. From a driver standpoint, it's crapshoot. You don't get a chance to go out there and earn what you get as much as it just, how things happen. It's too much like, restrictor plate racing, in that, it's not what you do that makes you, it's not your move that makes it the right move. It's what everybody else does that determines whether you made the right move or not. And dude, it's fun to watch. I love it. I think the state of the sport right now is the best it ever has been. I've never seen in my years, and I started racing NASCAR, started watching NASCAR in the early 70s, started racing NASCAR in 81. The competition on the racetrack's never been as good as it is today. It's the best it's ever been in history. But it's different.
Well, it sounds like you're not really coming down on one side or the other. So do you feel like some drivers maybe should make an effort to try and change the culture? Like it's still going to be very competitive, but like, would you like to see these races not settled by, bumper tag as often as they seem to be now?
The way I see these races, I like the bumper tag. I don't like it when it results in the guy receiving losing control. I don't mind. I'd much rather see side clacking than bumpers rubbing. The side clacking, you've seen that. We did that all the way back. If you're just rubbing this, or little tire rub or a little, something like that. That's incredible. That's awesome. I don't mind a little bit of bump and run or a little shoving or whatever. That's all cool. I just don't like it when the guy in front goes around or whatever. I'd rather see it be a little bit closer to a fair fight. Like maybe not do it. If you did it with a lap to go or 2 laps to go, maybe, the guy can get back to you. In my day, you couldn't get back to somebody that did give you a shot because they were faster than you. So when you got by, they couldn't, hard as they try, they couldn't get up there and give it back to you. The way the cars are today, they're closer to equal, and you can get up on the wheel and make something happen and get up there and kind of pay it back. It's all about excitement, and the fans are getting it now. And I'm not opposed to it as a fan. I would certainly be opposed to it as a competitor.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah, I mean, growing up, I've seen it kind of change a little bit myself from when I started to where I'm at now. And of course, like you say, the cars being closer to equal and all that, I think also makes it kind of worse because guys can't get back to one another. But yeah, I mean, I've moved people out of the way to win races, but on that note, I either ran them down in the closing laps and had to make something happen, or did it and drove away and still won the race. So I think similar to like what we saw at Coda not long ago, where it's just like so inviting for everyone to drive in there. It was just like crazy, just running over all over. It kind of reminded me of the legend cars at the summer shootout in a way, in the semi-pro class. Mark, I don't know. I think you had gone out there, and I think maybe Matt raced the legend cars too. So yeah, that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like everyone just is slamming into one another to try to get ahead, and there's no that real racing of running someone down, getting to the bumper, maybe moving them a little bit, door banging, and racing for the win. We don't see that as much anymore. I think I saw a clip where Jeff Gordon moved Rusty Wallace out of the way. I think it was in the early 2000s for the win at Bristol, and I'm like, that's that's racing. We don't quite see that. That it's almost like they just get wrecked, or more, or similar to like what happened to you, Mark, in Pocono. Hate to bring it up, but Joey pretty much wrecked. I mean, Joey, sorry, Joey, but kind of moved you out of the way pretty aggressively in turn one on the final lap too. And it's like kind of around then, it's almost like the stuff, it started getting more and more crazy, wild finishes like we see now.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And once one guy does it, then the next guy thinks he might need to do it. And after you get two or three doing it, yeah, the whole field has to be that way. There's no going, for multiple reasons, like I said, the cars being closer to equal. It's just, today it's just different. I mean, back in the day, the fun racing was, you would have Earnhardt leading a race and have a big bad pit stop, and he would come out in 18th, and in 5 laps he'd be leading again. Now that was exciting.
Yeah.
And that's, that ain't gonna happen now. That's why, at least like you saw at Richmond with tires, at least you really desperately need comers and goers in these races. And most of the asphalt that you race on is too good, and the tire's too good. And if the asphalt's too good, you can't it's impossible to make a tire that works. Sorry. So it has a lot to do with the composition of the mix of the asphalt. And the last time they did Darlington, Darlington's okay. It's okay now, but the last time they did Darlington was completely different. It was more like racing on concrete. And it has, even though the tires do back up a lot now, it's been a long time since it was paved. It's just, it's a little bit different. Charlotte's different. Charlotte used to be the most fun. It was like racing. The pavement was like racing at I would say like at Richmond is today. So it was, there were a lot of comers and goers, long run handling, short run handling, new tires, no tire, 2 tire, all that stuff. We don't have enough of that now. And I don't know really how you get it, because the cars themselves are probably, the gap between the fast car and the slow car is probably only 25% of what it was back then. So you already don't have a discrepancy in the car, a huge discrepancy in the car's speed. Then you have these great tires. Then you have, the great asphalt, and that makes it tough. And it's just, it's a different day and age than it used to be. And racing is different. It's fun as heck. Very, very, very good competition on the racetrack, but it's different. I mean, if you watched a race from the early 90s, you might see 3 cars on the lead lap at the finish, and you'd say, damn, that was a good race. There would be mass hysteria today, and you still look back on those races and you think, damn, that's good. But it isn't like they are today. It's different.
It's almost like today everything is too good. Like you're saying, the tracks, the tires, the cars, the aero, it's all too good. It's
I really wish that there was the tracks where the surfaces were harder on the tires, or however that needs to be. It definitely needs to, at some of these places for sure. I mean, I was around when I ran the old surface at Pocono, and then I've ran the new surface at Pocono. I was like one of the last races there, was like my first time running a big track. when they had the grip strip and all that in there. And I just, these tracks, they don't wear out. I mean, Pocono, Michigan, like Kansas just now started wearing out, where we can move up and run the wall, and you can kind of have some different passing lanes for a few laps, and then everyone runs up by the fence. But for so long they were just one groove tracks. You're almost wide open all the way around the place until the tires get hot, and then you're kind of lifting a little bit, but you can't pass or do much. You're just kind of stuck. I know, like in my career, we in the first parts of it, when I was racing all these new paves, it was okay on the restart. How many positions can we get on the restart? And then can you hold that position after that restart and hold it until we get to the next one? And maybe we get a spot or two on pit road and then rack them up and try to do it again. Can you get a couple more and hold that spot? Because you just couldn't really do much on the new paved track. So I would like to definitely see the tracks get more worn out. Darlington is pretty good now. It's pretty worn out. It's like driving. It reminds me of like racing at Salem in a way. With
Yeah.
you're like half throttle down the backstretch. Like, whoa, right now it's a lot of fun. I think Darlington's one of the best races we have to watch, just because there's more passing and more stuff happening during those races than there are at some of the mile and a halfs that we have, where it's just you got plenty of grip and a good tire. You can't do anything.
Absolutely. And there's another thing that this is a technical thing, but I want to get into it just real shortly, because it's always fallen on deaf ears. And I've even heard top drivers this year call for more downforce, which is dumber than hell. In 1990, a great race car with the grill open and race trim would have 0 in the front. Most race cars had lift in the front. If you had yours making 0, not lift, you were doing something. And you had 250 pounds of downforce in the back. No one ever said one word about aero type. Ever. You'd never heard of the term. And to me, it just continues to go. I applaud NASCAR for trying to keep, as much downforce off the outside of the car. I like the short spoilers. I think there's way too much downforce on the current Cup cars. I think the underside, I applaud them for trying to make the downforce in the underbody of the car and take it away from the top, hopefully to make it better in traffic. They're still super aero sensitive. And to me, that's never going to go away. They have that problem. They had that problem for a long time in F1 and in IndyCar, and NASCAR cars just kept making more and more and more and more. And there's no going back. No one wants to hear it. But we raced the hell out of those cars with 0 in the front and 250 down in the back. And nobody had ever raced with 2,000 pounds of downforce. And, once you have, it's hard to go back, and nobody ever will. NASCAR will not ever even go in that direction. Drivers won't have it. Tire companies, nobody will have it. But it's a shame, because, the racetracks need to be like Darlington and like Richmond, where, dude, you can't run a fuel stop. You've got to stop and tires way before you burn all the fuel out.
Mark, we really appreciate your time. I have one final question that I kind of want to wrap things up. Brennan, if you have another one, you can jump in after me. But my last question for you, Mark, is there any active driver, and it doesn't even have to be NASCAR, but any current driver that you think reminds you the most of yourself when you were racing?
There's different aspects of different guys. I mean, there are some things about Ross Chastain that I really identify with and like. And I love. For me, that's tempered a little bit with more aggression than I think situations require. I think you can want it really bad and drive really hard and still be a little bit tidier.
Tidier. I like
But
that. That's a good word to
Yeah.
use. Tidier.
but I love Chastain.
Yeah.
I'm not in Kyle Larson's league. I'm just not. No, but not neither is hardly anybody else. I'm a huge Kyle Larson fan. He came up in a different era, and he didn't work on cars, and identify with people that worked on their own cars, like Rusty Wallace and I, for example. We came up as teenagers all the way through our careers, side by side racing. But I really, Kyle Larson is we need to be standing in awe of the greatness that Kyle Larson, the talent that Kyle Larson has, and and I like the fact that he's pretty darn humble about it as well. I like Martin Truex Jr. Martin, probably of current drivers, reminds me the most of myself, my temperament and whatnot. So I'm a big Truex fan.
I can see that. Yeah. I can put two and two together.
Yeah.
That absolutely. Well, Mark, again, we really appreciate your time, spending so much time with us this afternoon. I'm sure all the viewers and listeners at home absolutely love hearing from you. Anytime you're in the media, anytime you're talking, I think people are listening. One more time, that's markmartinarchive.com, correct? That's where t-shirts, diecast pre-orders are available. And I know I'm looking forward to that book. Again, I'm not a race car driver, but I know I'll get something out of it. So, but Mark, thank you so much for being on the show. We really and truly appreciate it.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you both. It's been a lot of fun. I appreciate it. Good luck with your show.
Huge thank you again to Mark Martin for being on Power Hour. Brennan, that was special. You and I were just sitting here talking about the advice he gave you. Like, I was trying to step aside, let y'all have your kind of hash it out, have your moment. But that impactful stuff from the legend himself.
I think that was a powerful conversation. And it was cool to be able to ask those questions. Eric, you asked some good questions too, though, man.
A couple, I hope.
Yeah.
The viewers will be the judge.
It was pretty awesome to hear everything he had to say about everything, about where the sport's at, the advice. Crazy advice. I didn't even know Mark Martin. He was like, yeah, I've seen what's happened with you. And it's like, what? Okay. That was kind of cool to hear that. Great. Yeah, that was awesome. So yeah, thanks again, Mark. Thank you.
Well, I mentioned the viewers at home as we will wrap up every episode of Power Hour. We have a couple fan questions that we picked out that were asked on our last episode that Brennan, I have a question for you. I think you have a question for me. Before we get to those, one more reminder, Circle B Diecast, you can use code OOTG on their website, circlebdiecast.com, to get free shipping on orders over $30. And a little birdie told me recently, and I can't confirm any of this, but a little birdie told me that these beautiful out of the groove Brennan Poole diecast cars that, the car ran at Phoenix last fall, they might be shipping out hopefully by May, maybe late May. So you might start getting them early June. That's not confirmed, but that's what I've been told. So fingers crossed that's indeed the case. Brennan, I'm going to go and ask you a fan question first. I've got it pulled up right here. And I love this guy's name, Waldwick. I think that's his name. That's what it looked like on his YouTube username. Waldwick Person asked, how much personal time do you have between races? As in, how much time do you have between team meetings, being in the simulator, traveling between tracks, etc., to do whatever you want during the season?
Yeah, such a good question. I have this hour. I'm just kidding. I do some stuff for myself, but some of it is still racing forward. Like it's starting to get warm now. So I'll be road cycling a lot outside, which technically that is in my own free time, but I love riding my bike a lot. Like, I just like doing it. Like, yes, it's a workout and I'm working out and it's hard, but I really enjoy being out there on the road in nature, pedaling my bike. Like, I don't know, there's just something about it that's like therapy for me. So like that I really like. And then, in the evenings, I'm playing Call of Duty with my friends. I'm playing Fortnite still. I'm probably
really
ending some of y'all's games that are watching this. It's me and the boys. Just no, I'm not kidding at all. We definitely are ending your games. Um, but yeah, so I mean, I am doing some other things like that. I get to, I get home from the shop. I go to the shop every week before the races. So like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I'm usually go at the shop and or I'm cycling for like the whole day. I go on like 60-mile cycle rides, so
Oh,
it
wow.
takes a majority of the day. Um, so I'm doing stuff like that, and then in the evening I'm like cooking dinner, hanging out with Lindsay. I'm watching shows. I'm keeping up. I really enjoy shows and the TV and movies. I think that's like a lot of fans probably do know that about me, but I just love movies and shows, always have. And so I'm into watching a lot of. I'm watching School Spirits right now on Paramount Plus. It's very good. You should check it out if you haven't,
Hmm.
especially you, Eric.
Okay.
So
Oh,
yeah, I do a lot of stuff like that. I cook dinner with Lindsay, hang out, play games, like I said, with my friends, and then yeah, usually Thursday or Friday in the morning, I'm headed to the plane. We all fly on like a team plane, and I'm on there with like four, five, six other race teams, and we fly to the race, and then I'm racing Saturday and flying home after the race, and I get Sunday to kind of do whatever I want. Which again, it really boils around to what am I going to cook and what am I going to watch? Am I watching a show? Am I watching a movie? Am I, or is what's happening? Like after the cup race, I'm usually cooking during the cup race and like watching it. I have like a TV that I turn towards my kitchen, and Lindsay and I cook
mm,
and watch the race and stuff like that, which I like doing.
multitask.
That's one of my favorite things to do is to cook and have the race going. That's like one of my, if I'm not in the race, that's what I'd rather be doing.
Gotcha. That's good. That's a
Yeah.
full week.
Yeah, it's a full week, but I do have a lot of time to myself, especially ending kids' Fortnite games. So I do have a good question for you. I thought this was a great question.
Okay.
John Rubino, I think that's how you say it.
I
Sorry,
think
John, if
so.
I mess that up. But he said he got to see you firsthand at Daytona, see
Yeah.
this happening. But he wanted to know, how does it feel when fans come up to you before the race and they're wearing your gear and they're wanting to take pictures with you and all that kind of stuff?
Oh gosh. Actually, yeah, I have met John at I think it was at Daytona this year. I think I've seen him in comment stuff. He's been watching my videos for a long time, so I appreciate the question. Inflating my ego a little bit here. Uh, I'm easy to spot at racetracks. I mean, I'm really tall. I mean, most people listening, watching this know that I stand out in a crowd. So I'm used to people coming up to me and asking me questions or wanting to get a photo. I think it's amazing. I think it's great. It blows me away every single time. This year, especially after we did the whole Phoenix deal, Brennan, where we had crew shirts and t-shirts, we sold hundreds of those
Yeah.
things. I've started to see those out in the wild, and that really blows my mind when someone comes up to me in my own shirt with my face on it. That is ridiculous, but incredibly humbling every single time I see it. But it's funny because a couple weeks ago at Coda, I went to that race just kind of as a fan. I went with my mom and dad. Me and my dad used to always go to Texas Motor Speedway at least once, often twice a year. And now that Texas, one of their dates has been moved to Coda, it's a little closer for us in Houston. We have kind of been going to that race the last 3 years. And this year we brought my mom, my girlfriend came as well. And this was the first time my dad got pulled aside by a couple of guys. I don't know, they looked maybe high school, college age. I didn't get their names, unfortunately. My dad got stopped for a selfie by fans of the show because he's made some appearances and videos in the past. They recognized him. He was blown away. If those gentlemen are listening or watching this, you made my dad's day. I'm pretty sure he was absolutely blown away. So always love the support. It's crazy to see out of the groove stuff out in the wild, but I don't know. I'm very humbled every time I see it. So I appreciate the
Yeah.
question. That was a good one.
Yeah. No, it was good, and it's cool because I see it too. I see a lot of the crew shirts, especially because you guys did so many. The fans, the Groovy
Yeah.
Gang, you guys went hard for it
Groovy
and
gang.
got scooped up all the merch. And I do, I see it. I see it out of the racetrack almost every week. I see something, or I have someone come point at their shirt, and it's the purple and has
Yeah.
your shirt on it, that shirt that you made. And yeah, it's really cool. I actually got circled by children this past week
Oh.
in Richmond leaving the race, and they were all like, "Man, we love Eric. We love the Eric's car. Like, are you doing it again?" Like all this stuff. And I
Oh,
mean,
that's
it's
adorable.
fun, man. Yeah, it's cool. You have such a hardcore fan base, and it's like crazy that I'm like I get to witness those stuff because of the stuff that
Well,
you've done and stuff you've done for me.
I'm,
So it's
I'm
cool.
glad we've been able to work on things together, and I think it's just the beginning. This show, in many ways, is still just the beginning.
Yeah.
But that's adorable. That's amazing to hear.
Yeah.
On that note, before I blush any harder and like sweat out of my seat, thank you all so much for listening / watching the third episode of Out of the Groove Power Hour presented by Circle B Diecast. Brennan, our next episode will likely be in May, so we've got a few weeks to line up our next guest. It's going to be tough to top Mark Martin, but I think the next hour will be just as powerful. Brennan, any final thoughts before we pack things up and head to Bristol? Wait, are you going to Bristol? There's no Xfinity Bristol, right? What are you doing this weekend?
There's no Xfinity at Bristol. I'm going to the race,
Okay.
but I am not driving. Sadly I'm not. It would have
It'll-
been cool to hop in a truck or a cup car or something. I would have done it. But no, I'm going to hang out with some of my sponsors
Nice.
who are also going to the race, and we're gonna hang out, watch a dirt race, and I'm gonna have a good time. As a fan and as a racer, we're watching everything and soaking it all up in case I have to do it next year and race on the dirt. So, but it's going to be a lot of fun to just hang out and have a good time and watch the race. And so I'll be there. I'll be there hanging out and having fun. And I might even listen to this episode back on my drive up there this weekend and enjoy this wonderful hour in probably 12 minutes. I'm going to throw that out there. 1 hour, 12 minutes, power hour in 12.
I'm looking at the timer, and granted, I haven't edited this yet. I think we did go over an hour once again. Well, one of these days we'll get it right at an hour, and I will be so happy.
No, we can't do it. It has to always be over. It's an hour and 12 minutes, no matter
plus.
what.
Well, we appreciate each and every one of you for sticking around, listening to us ramble and talk racing, talk movies, talk whatever. We will see you again next month on the next episode of Power Hour.